In the previous lectures, we saw how several biblical verses challenge Kaufmann's Mosaic monotheism. A similar challenge is posed by verses that depict God's battle with the ancient sea. In the second unit of this course, when we discussed creation traditions, we presented several hints to an ancient Israelite myth about God's battle with the sea at the beginning of history. We have seen that the full story is not related in the Bible, but its traces can still be identified in the poetic sections of the Bible. Kaufmann maintains that there is no mention in the Bible of the battle between different divine entities, and that the God of Israel is never threatened by other divine forces.
The biblical legend does not imagine Nachash, Tanin, Leviathan, Yam, and certainly not Rahab, as primeval divine forms of existence that possess an independent root within the eternal existence. All are mentioned as creations of God and as being subjugated to him. The biblical legend does not therefore perceive the battle as taking place between primeval divine forces fighting with each other for control over the world, but rather as a battle between God and his creations who rebelled against him, attacking his world in order to destroy it.
Against this view, scholars have argued that in some texts, the sea and its creatures cannot be considered God's creations because the battle against them takes place before God creates the world. Here is an example from Psalm 74, where the battle against the sea creatures is mentioned first.
You broke Yam in pieces by your strength. You shattered the heads of the Taninim in the waters. You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him to be food to sea creatures.
The creation of the world only comes later.
Yours is the day and yours the night. You have established luminary and sun. You have set all the borders of the earth, summer and winter. You made them.
As depicted here, the rebellious divine creatures were not created by God. Rather, they are independent beings, threatening God's control of the world. This control was therefore not always absolute. During pre-creation days, it was even under real threat. Moreover, the mythological battle described here undermines Kaufmann's claim that there is absolutely no form of mythology in the Bible. Before concluding this part, we should mention some additional claims against the uniqueness of Israelite monotheism. Several scholars have attempted to identify monotheism in other parts of the ancient Near East. A common theory attributes the beginning of monotheism to an Egyptian king named Pharaoh Akhenaten, who ruled Egypt in the 14th century BCE. We have not yet discussed Egyptian culture and its connections to the Bible. Later in this course, in our discussion of wisdom traditions, we will say a few words about this issue. For now, we will just briefly remark on the religious revolution of Pharaoh Akhenaten. During the fourth year of his reign, this king instigated a religious revolution. He elevated the god of the sun, Aten, to the status of superior god. In the 9th year of his reign, Akhenaten declared Aten to be the only god. He commanded the destruction of the temples of the traditional superior god of Egypt and clashed with the priests of the temples. Subsequent kings restored the old religion. Some scholars have suggested that the Egyptian Akhenaten is the father of monotheism and that the Bible borrowed this idea from him. This claim was first expressed by Sigmund Freud in his book Moses and Monotheism and later gained more supporters. A reverse direction of influence from Israel to Akhenaten was also proposed. You will find more information about this in the course syllabus. To conclude, the biblical quotes and historical evidence we discussed challenge the idea of Israelite monotheism from several aspects. They show that the religion of the Bible was not always purely monotheistic. the religions of the ancient Near Eastern peoples were not always exclusively polytheistic, and that the Israelite monotheism may have developed gradually in Israel during the biblical period. Do these claims undermine the very idea of biblical monotheism? This question will be discussed in the next lecture.